The New Jersey Devils have a serious problem collecting just 2 points on their West Coast road trip with statistical drop-offs from key players, begging the question, what needs to change? Welcome in to Devils Digest. Glad you guys are here. Okay, so Monday comes back around, and I think last week going into Monday, Devil fans, we were riding high. 8-game win streak. We took out a number of good competitive teams, feeling good, first place in the whole entire NHL. But like we know with the NHL, a lot can change in a week, and that's kind of unfortunately what we saw as Devils fans. Devils went onto their West Coast road trip, flying high, 8-game win streak, come away with 2 points. They won just one game. It was a game against LA. And you could honestly argue that's where they might have looked the worst. They let up 40 shots in that game. Let up a number of shots against Colorado. Anaheim looked pretty good 2 nights ago. All in all, it just wasn't a good road trip for New Jersey. And you looked at it and you went, well, I mean, this team looked really good to start. They had an 8-game win streak. They were winning basically every single game they played, outplaying their opponents. And when they didn't outplay their opponents, they found a way to win. Sometimes good teams just need to do that. But they're losing to teams that, you kind of felt that they were ahead. I mean, they were ahead in the standings, and they beat some of these teams already in Colorado and San Jose, and they kind of dropped duds on this road trip. Now, I know there are excuses to be made. There are injuries, and I know people can go and they can be, well, you know what, this team's injured. Well, I mean, that's what we used last year, and guess what happened? It was a first-round exit. I mean, you can only use the injury excuse for so long. I mean, yeah, they're part of the game. Yeah, does it hurt your team? Does it make your team look maybe a little less? Sure, that's all true. But you know what else is true? A scoreboard. And at the end of the day, the scoreboard showed the other team winning. It showed the Devils just weren't good enough in this road trip, despite injuries. You have to find a way around injuries. Devils didn't find a way around injuries. So, looking at all that and looking at losing 3 out of 4 in games, some games that you probably at least should have had a better effort in, you got to have to ask yourself, what needs to change? Well, for a second, I'm going to play Sheldon Keefe, and I'm going to show you what I would do with this Devils lineup coming off, 3 not so great losses. So starting off, I'm going to go line by line. First line, Jesper, Bratt, Jack Hughes, Arsenij Griciuk. Look, it's time to get Arsenij Griciuk on the first line. This team struggled to score on this road trip. They didn't look very good. And you look at Arsenij Griciuk recently, he hasn't scored in 5 games. He's kind of had a little bit of a drop-off. He's not helping you on your third and fourth line. Okay, he's an offensive player. He's not there to be in defensive zone faceoffs. He's not there to, play with other players and kind of, hold down the fort. No, he needs those skilled players around him because they will benefit. And guess what? They will benefit as well. I mean, you can just look who was there already in Andre Palat, who, at this point, 1 point in 13 games. That's not going to get it done. That's not good enough playing with guys like Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt. Those type of stat lines cannot happen. It can't be playing with, 90-point players or capable of 90-point players putting up 1 point in 13 games. It's showing a sign. Arsenij Griciuk has struggled as of recent in terms of finding the score sheet, getting goals. He needs some players he can create with. They'll create just fine together. Now, the second line, I'm not touching. In terms of personnel, I'm not touching. It's been good so far. I expect it to continue to be good. Dawson Mercer's having a career year. Nico Hischier looks good. Timo Meier is where it's kind of fallen off a little bit for Timo Meier recently. I mean, you look at it, he hasn't scored in 10 games. We need more from Timo Meier. So, I said I wouldn't change the personnel, but I'm going to change where they play. I'm going to put Timo Meier back on his right wing. Look, we need to fix Timo Meier. I mean, he's getting $8.8 million a year. You have to find a way to make him valuable. And he is valuable. He scored 40 goals in this league. Not too many players can say that. So we need to figure out a way how to make Timo Meier get the best from Timo Meier. Let's keep him on this line that's still finding a way to produce, even though he hasn't scored in 10 games. Let's get him producing. I mean, help him, help you. So put him back on the right side. Dawson Mercer, I feel good playing on that left wing. And then Nico Hischier, obviously your bona fide great number 2 center on this team, number 1 center on most teams. Good advantage for the Devils to have. Now, third line, I guess it's where it gets a little bit more interesting. Because the third line, I'm calling up Shane LeChance. Look, I said coming into this year, Devils have a problem at depth center. They can't score there. They're not creating enough. You have to maybe go a different route. I don't really like having Juha Lammikko as your third line center. Bring up Shane LaChance. Play him in the third line. I don't think it's going to hinder his development, letting him come up for a little bit and seeing what he has. It's not like he's sitting in the press box. I know he's probably playing better minutes down in the AHL. Well, I think our outlook for Shane LaChance is being in that bottom six. So go ahead. Give it a try. You've lost 3 of your last 4 games. You haven't scored enough. You haven't looked good. Defense has been a problem. Offense hasn't done enough. Go ahead. Go with Shane LaChance as your third line center. Now that's where Andre Palat does slot into. Now Andre Palat, a little bit of a tougher position. A little bit older. Hasn't really lived up to his contract. I think we all kind of knew he wasn't worth what his contract was. Devils had to do something. I was okay with it. You were looking at Johnny Gaudreau. You didn't get him. The number of other players you didn't get. You hadn't done anything at in terms of signing players. So Andre Palat on your third line, put him somewhere. That's where he'll work. And then Stefan Noesen. Put him around 2 players who have a ton of NHL games under their belt, aren't going to make a ton of mistakes, maybe not provide a ton of offense, but I don't think you're looking at this from this third line. I mean, right now, with the injuries, you are looking to rely heavily on your stars, on your top 6, and I'm okay with that because you pay your stars to rely on them. Rely on your top 6 players, rely on your stars. Third line, you need a little bit more, but I think you can get a little bit more, maybe playing players like Andre Palat in a situation where he should be. Shane LaChance coming up, getting a chance to make an impression. And then Stefan Noesen, he's a good third line right winger. I'm good with it. Fourth line, look, the fourth line has struggled this year. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you have one player in a PTO. You have another player who's in the AHL playing in your NHL roster. And you have Paul Cotter, who, yes, we know, good, valuable, fourth line left winger. But I mean, the rest, I don't know if you feel great about it, but it is your fourth line. I don't think you have to feel great about your fourth line to be a contending team. It's always nice. I mean, it's always nice to get pleasant surprises that you didn't expect and it works out. But I think this is how this Devils team is built. This is how they went into this year. So I'm going with Luke Glendening, Paul Cotter, Brian Hallinan, and then when they get a little bit more healthy, you can be a little bit more experimental. Or you can, kind of have more options, I should say. Because right now what I'm doing is I'm experimenting, but I feel really good with this top 6. Bottom 6, don't feel great, but the Devils, in free agency, they went out, they got some bottom 6 forwards. When they get healthy, it'll look a little bit better. I mean, just looking at, in terms of players who have played the most minutes together, I mean, the Hischier, Meier, Mercer line, I'm not touching them. I'm obviously putting Gritsuk up there with Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt. They need to create more. So, all in all, that's what I would do with the offense. Now, defensively has been an issue too. So, I have some changes I made there as well. Look, that first line, that first pairing, I'm going with Dougie Hamilton and Luke Hughes. And I know, not very defensive defensemen. They might make turnovers. There might be a lot of that. Well, it is an offensive game now. And you're not very good defensively anyway right now. So might as well go do what you do best. Go put your 2 offensive defensemen together. Luke Hughes, he's supposed to be the next number 1 defenseman on this team. Go play him on the first line. Dougie Hamilton gets paid as a number 1 defenseman. Put them together. Offensive game now. Offense, defense. The defense needs offense. This defense needs more offense. Put those 2 together, put them in offensive zone faceoffs, give them, that first line with Jack Hughes, Arseny Gritsuk, Jesper Bratt, put them in offensive situations to succeed. I think, it works out short term at least. I think this actually could be something that works out for a little bit more in the future. Dougie Hamilton and Luke Hughes, at least while the injuries are here. Give it a shot. I think you might be pleasantly surprised. They're both making $9 million. They should be playing on the first pair. I understand you guys might disagree with that one. That's what I'm doing right now. In terms of the second line, look, Dillon and the Mets, they play good enough together. That's what I want to see. I mean, with Simone Nemec, you think about it, 2nd overall pick. You thought he was going to be, maybe on that pairing with Luke Hughes one day. You need to see more. You have to give him the chance. I don't know how many more chances he's going to get. I mean, a little while ago, I said he's played the 3 best games of his career. And then, kind of been a fall off since. He's been super inconsistent this year. Brenden Dillon's been very good. So I'm putting Brenden, Dillon, and Simone Nemec together on that second pairing. I hope it works out. Look, underlying numbers, they're not awful. I mean, they're not horrible. It could work. Hopefully it works. Devils need it to work. And Jonas, Siegenthaler, Seamus, Pesce. I'm bringing Seamus, Pesce back up. Look, I don't think Jalalski, adds a ton. Devils still had let up 40 shots on net. They weren't great defensively in LA. Anaheim was a problem. So I want to see Seamus, Pesce back up. Seamus, Pesce's more of a future. He's a better transitional puck player. I like Seamus, Pesce on your third pairing. Jonas, Siegenthaler, look, he's not staying here, but he struggled this year. And so far, that Dougie Hamilton and Jonas Siegenthaler pairing hasn't been phenomenal. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go a little bit more offensive. When I have Brett Pesce out of my lineup, I'm going to be a little bit more offensive. Because, look, Devils, they're a different team without Brett Pesce. They can't play as good defensively. They're losing one of their better defensive defensemen. They got to do things a little bit different. You know what? Hyper in on the offense. I mean, this is an offensive league at the end of the day. I mean, they're drafting these defensemen because of their offensive talent. So go ahead, fill in the offense. Like I said, when there's defensive injuries, lines will look different. Pairings will look different. So I'm not saying Jonas Siegenthaler is going to be a third line defenseman for the rest of this season. Just right now, when things aren't working, when you're letting up a ton of goals, when you don't look, necessarily great, and you can't play that same defensive style, go ahead, load up offensively, get someone going good, because right now the Devils have lost 3 of their past 4 games after an 8-game win streak. So not a great way to come off an 8-game win streak, but they do have Montreal on Thursday. Let me know down in the comments, what do you guys think? What type of lineup would you put out? That's what I'm going with on Thursday against Montreal. It was fun being Sheldon Keefe for a little bit, but thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you guys all really soon.